Stephen Oyelabi from Lagos, Nigeria. We talk about soccer or football. I love talking about it. I know, uh, and a common listener would know that, any listener would know that. But we talk about the World Cup. We talk about technology in soccer. Uh, and what's happening there, the level of play at the World Cup. Um, I really enjoy his insight. He's got a great website called SooFootball, SooFootball, there in Lagos, Nigeria, and he's got a podcast as well. But great insight on the game. I get his opinion on what he'd like to change. Fascinating take on discipline too from Stephen, given his uh, opinion and culture. We talk about Qatar as well and what's happening there and some of the controversy. But just a great conversation with Stephen Oyelabi about football. I really enjoyed it. I know you will as well. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate your time. Your last name Oyelabi,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And you're in Lagos, Nigeria. I love your website. I really appreciate your time today. Is technology helping or hurting soccer or football?
To be fair and honest, technology is helping soccer and football, whichever way you call it. I rather call it football. Pardon me. Well, technology is really helping because some years ago, we there was no way they could detect an offside. Now, with the help of technology, football has advanced, and then we have a technology called the VAR, video assistant referee. So it's a new technology that is helping the referees to be able to detect offside, and it has really improved the game a lot. So, in an holistic point of view, technology is really, really making huge advancements in the game of soccer.
Yeah, I remember when they one of the first technologies that was used that I really enjoyed was whether the ball was completely over the line, if it was a
Yeah, yeah, goal
goal or
line
not.
technology.
Uh,
It was
the
very
goal
difficult
line
for referees
technology. Yeah.
standing like 5 meters away from the goal line to know if it's a goal. But now with the technology, we just with sound, it's very easy. So it's really making things easier in the game.
And the offside is incredible. They slow it down, and you could tell like somebody's head was in
Exactly,
or their
the
foot was
sliders
just
margin. Yeah,
just
exactly,
inches in.
exactly.
It's yeah, it's amazing, but it has slowed down the game a bit. One of the biggest complaints of the World Cup this year is that the games have been longer than usual, 100 minutes, 101 minutes of all extra
Yeah,
time.
the thing is, we have to pick a struggle. If we want the right decisions, we have to stick with the technology. I understand the drawback. I understand the complaints. Well, what I can say is that we need to pick a struggle. If we want the correct call, we have to pay a price for it, and this is the price we're paying for it: our time. Now, players don't like it because it saps their emotion because they think they've scored a goal, and then they realize that it's not a goal, and we have to wait for 4 minutes sometimes to check the review. It slows down the process of the game. But if you want the right decision to be made, we have to pick a struggle, and we just have to live with it. I don't see how that can improve, because you need time to review so that you can make the right decision. So we have to stick to it.
Yeah, it's a little awkward now. They score and there's all this celebration, and then all of a sudden the ref makes the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
square,
And then,
and we got to go check and there's all this kind of waiting, and the crowd is
yeah,
quiet, and and it's just kind of awkward for the four
yeah,
minutes of people watching monitors to see if it happened. And I always think back in Mexico, the World Cup, I want to say '84, where Maradona, against England, did the hand of God, right, where he scored that goal
yeah,
with his head, with his hand up on his head, and they went on to win the World Cup, of course,
yeah.
Argentina, and
It
that wouldn't have
wouldn't. Just
happened now,
imagine there was
Steve.
a VAR, then that would have been ruled out. But the drawback again is that the technology is as good as the people who manage it. Now, let me give you a very good example.
Mm,
Yesterday's game, Portugal versus Ghana. Now, if you watch that match, it was Portugal got a penalty for a foul
yeah.
that is not legitimate, for Christ's sake. Everyone knows that it is not legitimate. Now, okay, fine. If it's not legitimate, you have a second chance. Go check the monitor. Go check with the VAR team. The VAR team waived him, play on, waived him that they agreed with the decision. So the point is, we have a technology and we have people who manage that technology. The technology is as good as the people. So when we have people can't make the right decision, even with the technology becomes useless, just as it was with the Portugal game. Portugal got the penalty from nowhere. It is not a foul, and then he got a. You could have checked the monitor and the VAR system to see if his call was right, which referees do normally. But for some reasons, we don't know if there's some politics or some things playing around in the backside. We don't know. But ideally, what referees do when they make such decisions, they go to check the monitor to see if their decision is right or wrong. But the VAR team advised him that there is no need to check, it's a penalty. And meanwhile, it's not a. Now, in their third goal, Rafael Leao scored a goal that is when I say offside, it is most likely offside, but the VAR did not check to review. So it brings back to my point that the VAR system is as good as the people that manage them. So we've, even though the technology is awesome, it's beautiful, it makes things better, but if the people managing it don't make the right decision, we're still back to square one.
Yeah, it's a really good point because that was a terrible foul, and of course, Ronaldo ended up making that penalty kick. But that's really a judgment at that point. The referee, the head referee, has to make the decision if there was a contact, if it was
Yeah.
flagrant. I mean, I don't think we can ever have VAR help with that, right? Because that's a complete
Thank you.
judgment
It's
call.
clear. Do you understand? But if it doesn't make the,
Yeah.
but if this could have been better if the VAR team advised him, guy, you need to go check the review, and then you could possibly change your decision. It happens, but possibly there was a bias or something. The VAR team to supported the referee, and it's strange. And FIFA, and nobody's even talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. It's crazy. You understand? So that's part of the
Yeah,
dirty part of the
it
game.
is. That was a terrible. I agree with you, Steven. That was a terrible, terrible call. You know what else kind of annoys me every once in a while, and I see this at the highest level. I've seen it World Cup throw-ins. A lot of times, I see them lift their back foot
Yeah.
up. I see them. You both feet are
Yeah.
supposed to be on the ground, and these are they're quickly getting the ball, and I see them lift that back leg, and I say, "What? What? The linesman's there. I wonder if they'll ever use VAR on that. I mean, that'll really slow down the
Well,
game."
the thing about voucher is that it's getting out of the game. Really, there's not much
Mm,
emphasis on voucher anymore. Should I say it's facing out? Let me put it that way. It's facing out.
yeah.
It's just in the Premier League. I doubt you see the referee blew for a foul throw. It's really facing out of the game. So the VAR, and it's not really significant to scoring or not scoring, or like offside, fouls, and the rest. It's just the throwing. It can let go of it.
Yeah, all too often I see them, they're waiting for the foul throw, and I said, "Just get the ball in, fellas. This is not going to be just let's start the play. You're going to switch it to the other side anyway." Another big change I like that they made is the goal kicks now can be
Yeah.
within the box. It doesn't have to
Mm.
leave the box. When I was a kid, we always had to. I think it's much
Mm.
better this way. Your
Yes.
thoughts on
Now
that?
the thing is, before they just add the goal kick, and then everyone will be outside. Now it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for players to build their momentum, and then they have to just stay outside the box. So it's an opportunity for people to build up. Before there was no such opportunity. So I think this is part of the progress we're making in the game. It's work in progress. Some years back, some of these things were not like that, and it's good that our beautiful game is evolving, and that's part of why we love the game.
Yeah, I love that slow build, get it out of the
Yeah,
back,
it
slowly
it, make,
bring
it
it
makes
back and
football
forth. It's
interesting.
almost very interesting, and it's almost, melodic, the way they kinda
Yeah,
wave it back and forth, and they're patient, and then they 1
yeah.
touch, 2 touch in these triangles, and they're bringing it up.
The
And they're
switch of
switching the
play.
ball.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah, towards the end of the game, if you're down, the goalie's just gonna kick it up, of course, to get it in the second half. But generally speaking, slow build is much more. And way they changed the other rules on passing it back to the goalkeeper where they can't use their hands. All these are improvements. If you had your
Hmm.
wish, Steven, what big rule change would you make to football?
To be honest, it will go down to officiating. Officiating decides the game entirely. Look at the Portugal Ghana game. It's crazy. It's annoying. It's annoying. If because if one thing I'll do is one, I will review each official before they get into the game, as in serious scrutiny before they get into the game. And if by any chance there's a decision that is being made that affects the outcome of the game, there should be a provision for rematch or something that amends the situation. It's not part of the rule of the game at the moment, and
Oh.
it's crazy. Now, Portugal got away with that. Who's to blame? Ghana lost the game with no fault of theirs. So who gets the shot? Who takes the blame? It just goes off the head like that. It's crazy. So in such decisions, such kind of decision that changes the outcome of the game, there has to be a provision to amend such situation, possibly a rematch, sanction the referee, or something. There has to be something in the game that makes okay. If there are going to be human errors, fine. The team that suffers from the human error should not bear the cost. Do you understand? So we should have something like that in the game that can, like a last resort for teams, so they can know that okay, referees, officials cannot just get away with the decisions that they like. And in the rematch, you put another set of officials, not the same set, change everything, and then maybe a rematch. It's always possible, really. It's possible if you want the right thing to be right. That's what I would change if I had the power. But who am I?
Well, you're certainly passionate about it, and the head referee has a lot of control. Something a major call like that, or even something, they get a tackle wrong, and there's a set piece, and it leads
Hmm,
to a goal. A couple plays later. I mean, there's so much control
exactly.
for that referee, and if there is a bias, and if there is a mistake, and it can
It
cost
can cost the team
2
everything.
points, 3 points. It can
Yeah,
cost a
and the
game.
thing is, you
Yes.
don't even have to be 100% right as the center referee. That's why there are other officials to help you make the game easier, to make the situation easier for you. And they are all, permit me, they all cannot be stupid at the same time. It's not possible. It's not possible. If it's going to make a mistake, people are there. His assistant referee, the linesman, the VAR team, they are there to always call his attention to it. So it hurts when all of them miss a particular situation that could change the entire outcome of a game. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating too. Do you think that soccer, this World Cup that we're in right now, do you think it's being played at its highest level?
Um, By highest level, I need to understand how you mean. You mean in the because there's so many aspects of football. You mean the competition itself? Is it the technology? Is it the officiating? Is it the environment, or the host, or what angle exactly are you looking at?
Let's just talk about the play, the level of the athletes and the style of play. Is it do you think it's the best
Okay,
it's ever been?
well, I love how it I love watching it at the moment. You know why? Because it's full of surprises. In the usual
Mm,
World Cup, you can just sit in your home and predict who wins the match. Now look at Argentina. Argentina lost to a very lowly Saudi Arabia. No one could have
Saudi Arabia.
predicted such.
Yeah.
Now look at Wales. Wales lost 2-0 to Iran. That's crazy is outrageous. Now, again, just look at Germany. Germany lost 2-0 to Japan. These are strange results. Do you understand? In the previous World Cup, where you can predict, if a team, when you see the fixture, you can just predict, okay, this team will win this team based on history, based on how big they are. But that's not the case with this World Cup. So I think a lot of teams have stepped up their game. They're not it's not the usual World Cup where we see, and then there's a walkover. A big team just banks a small team, and then we say, oh, we thought as much. This is not a case of we thought as much. You are not thinking as much because you are wrong in most cases like this, like the Argentina and today Wales. It's the real thing that's the beauty of football. When you cannot predict a match, when your prediction is wrong, that's the beauty about football. If it's just the regular,
Mm.
it becomes boring. Do you understand? But it's not the regular, and that's why I think a lot of teams have stepped up, and that's the beauty of this particular football edition.
And do you think that is because soccer's being elevated at those other countries like Japan, like you mentioned, like Saudi Arabia, like at these countries where instead of the big powerhouses of soccer, the Argentina, the Germanys, etc., that you lost? Is it because the managing's getting better? Is it because the athletes are getting better? The technology? What's elevating the play of those teams that usually don't win all the time to win?
Well, I think there's something about the psychology. I think is the
Hmm.
psychological part that has improved over time. I think, because if you look at those teams, they don't have so much quality, and there's really, it's obvious they don't have so much quality. But I think they have been able to improve their way of thinking that it is possible with these big teams. And I think again that some of those football associations of those countries they have invested properly in the right management. Those two key factors help a lot. Now, the psychology of the players believing that they can do it, it's possible. It's possible. Watching history of the game, they know that they've been written up. They now have the sense of belief that it is actually possible. Then I think some of those FAs they have invested in the right management team. Now, the right management team helps a lot. Now, in the case of Saudi Arabia, for example, they have a very good coach. Lei Aver was a coach of Zambia. He won the African Cup of Nations with Zambia. Zambia, no one knows Zambia. Do you understand?
Mhm.
So investing in such kind of management can do a lot of good to an entire football nation, and that I think is the case with Japan too. Japan, they have a very very good coach, although he's home based, but they invested in him. I think it's down to those two things. I think the right management team and then psychology, because some nations. Let me put it this way, like Nigeria, for example, they are not investing in the right direction. And so that's why they are not even in the World Cup in the first place. They invested poorly in a wrong coach. The coach got sacked. They hired the coach midway and all sorts of wrong decisions. It's all these factors matter. Now, although Ghana, in their own case, they didn't do so well in the Africa Cup of Nations, but they have a new coach. The guy is doing well. So that this kind of key investment and hiring of the management team has a lot of say on the psychology of the players. So these help them when they meet big teams and then they believe they can achieve the impossible.
Yeah, it's interesting thought about the psychology. I think back also the Women's World Cup where Japan beat
Yeah,
US in the final.
of
Nobody
course,
had that. Remember that? I mean, that was amazing. Just
of
nobody
course.
picked that. And if it's if it's the right, mentality, and there's so much also the health and fitness. I mean, these players these days are just in tremendous shape, and the way, their diet, their exercising, their
Hmm.
weight training, and even, the technology. I'm a Manchester City
Oh,
fan,
fantastic!
and I see a lot of the video. Yeah, I'm a City fan, and so I see a lot of their facilities, their training, their doctors. I mean, just the level I mean, they're investing
You
millions of
see,
dollars of these players, so they
you
have
see,
to do all that. But I guess that's the other thing we should talk
yeah.
about, the money. I mean, the money has really elevated. There, if you're paying $100 million or pounds for a player, you're going to get the best physicians. You're going to have the best
Hmm.
dietitians. You're going to have the best, therapy there for them. I think that's a really important
Yes,
issue
yes,
too.
you're very, very correct. Now, technology and money also play a big part. Now, countries like Japan, they have the money actually. The money is not actually the problem,
Yeah.
but it's the quality that is the only problem. So they use what they have to get what they want. So investing in the right direction, like you pointed out, Manchester City, you can always get the best of facilities and infrastructure there. So when you're playing with the best facilities, the best people in the business, of course, it's gonna elevate your game. So I think it has of course, you can tell what kind of team Man City was 10, 20 years back. They don't compete for the league. Now they are four times champion in the last 5 years. That's outrageous. No one would have expected that. Now look at
Amazing.
Newcastle. Newcastle was a mid-table team, and then they also struggled for relegation. Now they invested in the right coach with money, and then they are in the top four at the
Yes.
moment. So that's what money can do. PSG was not winning the league consistently for many years, but now they won seven in the last eight. That's what I'm talking about. So all of these have a role to play in football, and it's unfortunate that many people, even with there are two things involved. You either have the money and invest wisely, or you have the money, you don't invest wisely, or you don't have the money at all. So it's just one of those options. But it would be good if you have the money and then you invest wisely. And then technology, improvement of technology regularly is crazy. And then the availability of data, statistics is crucial, very, very crucial, because some 20 years back, there are no available data for even matches that we watch. We don't have the statistics of how many crosses got in, how many times a player created chances. We just have the goals and then assists, and that's all. But today we have a lot of statistics and data. So people that are making research, people that help the team, whether the assistant coach or whatever, those that review, they have a lot of data to work with. Do you understand? And then it helps them to make better decisions. So this is a part of the factors that help improve the game, and it has gone across the whole world, and teams are now stepping up.
Yeah, I mean the advent of, these data scientists. I remember seeing some statistics like Kevin De Bruyne, of course, from Manchester, plays for Belgium, and is at Manchester City. I remember one statistic was the number of passes he had in the
Yes.
box. So it's not just a regular, just these kind of statistics that you'd never heard about these
Yeah.
in the 80s and in the 70s. They never recorded that the kind of thing. And another thing about technology is that all the players wear those heart monitors now under their jerseys.
Yeah.
They have the piece of, that they could tell, they
Yeah.
know exactly where they ran for the whole. They know how many miles they ran. They know everything about. They know
Yeah.
where their heart rate is. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. They can
Mm.
actually track all that now because they're all monitored. Just
Yeah.
the technology level. I have a technology background, and I love the way that I believe, helped the game.
Yeah, it's this part of what I'm talking about. The advancement of technology is really crucial in the game. 10, 15 years ago, we had no data for all of these things, and now people can make better decisions because they have a lot of data to work with, and it's beautiful. What do you think?
Absolutely, and Yeah, I think it's helped. I think maybe some of the purists, maybe some of the older generation would say it slows down from the game, and we should just be able to play. But I love it now. Let's talk about Qatar. Lots of controversy how Qatar got the World Cup. There's some things coming out now, and what are your feelings on that?
Well, I love. Okay, before now, I criticized FIFA for, to start with. It's a mistake. Let me say it's a mistake that the World Cup is being hosted in Qatar. First of, Qatar is not a footballing nation. Nobody watches Qatar. The Qatari league is nothing. Like, they have nothing associated with football. That's a fact. But somehow, due to some things I probably cannot say on here, it got to Qatar. It got to Qatar. Okay, fine, it's in Qatar. But the thing is, I love how the Qatari people are standing up to their ground about their rules and regulation. I
Mm,
love it.
mm,
Europeans or Westerners, they think they can go to people's country and then have their rules from your
mm,
country and come impose it in another man's country. It doesn't work that way. Nobody will come from Qatar to the
right.
US or UK and tell you what to do in the UK. You have to abide by the rules in the UK. That's how it works. Now, they the Qatari they banned the One Love armband that supports the LGBT community. It's wrong in their tradition, in their rule. They don't want it. Why are the Europeans and other people in the world, especially the Europeans and maybe some American countries, why are you complaining about it? It's another man's country. They have the rules and regulation. If you support the
Right.
LGBT in your own country, it doesn't mean they speak for others across board. So I really love the way the Qatari people stood up to their ground. They were not bullied by the protest and the comments. If in fact, well, I'm on Twitter, so I watch the movie, so to speak, live. I see the way the Qatari people get lashed this journalists and the rest about their complaints that it's hypocrisy. Now look at Germany, for example. They took a photo before the match, covering their mouth, letting people know that
Right.
if they cannot accept the armband, you are silencing our voice, that you are denying us a voice to speak. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You're there to play football. Play your football and go home. Why? Why are you protesting? You're not the politician. Why are you making leave such things for the politicians to deal with, not you as a footballer. Your job is to play football. Why sending a political message? And that's why I love Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard criticized the German team for what they did. It doesn't make sense. You're in another man's land. Why are you? As a matter of fact, the protest is not even the problem. There's a Qatari guy that actually tweeted that the protest is not the problem. It's normal if you do not like what you see, but the hypocrisy is the issue. Do you go to the last time in France when France hosted the World Cup? The guy asked if he asked if they protested because France have stolen a lot of wealth from Africa. Why are you not protesting there?
Mm.
Also, he protested, he complained about the hypocrisy of the Europeans, of European nations, about other things like why are you not bringing your protest to Qatar? Why don't you protest against your fellow European team? So that's the thing. I really love the fact that the Qatari people stood up to their ground and they are not bullied by people that do not believe in their values. So you either respect their values or you get out. That's it. And I love that. I hope many more people, or let me say many more nations, can emulate such warrior example.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily agree with the values, but it
Thank
is their
you.
country, and you should
Hmm.
respect that. Yeah. Yeah, my father's from Italy. He's Italian immigrant. I'm here in the
Mhm.
U.S. in the States, and I was 8 or 9 years old. I spent a lot of time in Italy, and it's just people live very differently there than they do here in the U.S. It's not that it's wrong. It's not that it's just
Exactly.
different. And they've thousands of years they've been doing that. And uh, the idea of Westerners, like you said, to come over and start making changes, thinking that their way is better. It's arrogant, it's destructive, and it's
Yeah, you're very
disrespectful.
correct. You're very correct. And I really like that they're not being bullied.
But
I really love that. It makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I certainly support a lot of the initiatives, but it's their country, and they'll make their adjustments as they seem it. They'll have their revolution, and they'll move on. But that's
Of
up
course.
to them. Um, that takes away from the game, though. The games have been excellent. I think you mentioned a bad call. Certainly in the Ghana game, it was a terrible call. But other than that, I think the games have been really really well played. Has there been a red card yet? I
No,
don't think
I
anybody's
don't
been
think I don't
ejected.
think so. There's not been any red card. The officiating is fair, to
Yeah,
be honest. To be honest, it's been fair. Just accept
yeah,
that Portugal Ghana match. I don't go back to it. It's annoying. It's really annoying. It's really annoying. But apart from that, I think the officiating has
right.
been fair enough. To be honest with you.
And what about penalty kicks to resolve? Well, there's ties now, but in the knockout round, of course, there has to be a winner. What about penalty kicks to decide it after regulation? Are you in favor of that, or do you want them to play more? What would you do there
Even penalty kicks after the regulation time. Okay, well, yeah.
to
The
declare a
thing
winner?
is, on a personal note, I don't like penalties. It's a game of luck. I prefer playing the game, and then if I score, I win the game. Penalties, it's like it's like lottery. It's like betting. It's like
Yeah,
gambling. Do you understand? Although people say it's part of the game, but I don't think it is. I don't think it should be. You understand? If I could change, okay, I forgot to mention that when you asked me the other time if I could change the game. This is part of what I would change. I do not like penalties, so I would rather go for a rematch instead of penalties. So
a
now this is what
rematch.
they do. If they are scheduled 30 days for the FIFA World Cup, now there should be additional 10 to 15 more days as extra or backups for rematch. For things like this, in case there's a bad officiating, play a rematch. In case a team after 120 minutes
Hmm.
could not be separated, play a rematch of another 30, 45 minutes, another time, maybe 2 days after or something. I'm not the fan of penalty, to be honest with you, but penalty in the game, fine, no problem. But penalty shootout after the normal time, no, I don't like that, really. If I could change the game, this is one of the things I would change in football.
That's what you would do. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they do 90 minutes regulation, then they
Yes,
do two
15, 15, that's
15-minute
30. That's 120
halves, right?
minutes.
Yeah. And it used to be golden ball, where if you scored there, the game was over. Now they play the two
Yeah,
15
yeah,
down.
during
Are
the
you in
during the
favor of
dark
that?
ages of football. Yes, it doesn't make sense. Okay, think about it. Two teams are playing, and then if you get the goal first in the extra time, you win the game. There's so many encounters in modern football where the team that gets the first goal goes on to lose the game, even in the extra time. I've seen some teams that play, they get the first goal in the extra time, and before the 30 minutes elapse, they get additional, they get banked two, three, four more goals. You see, that's part of what they're talking about. So it doesn't make sense if the teams that get the first goal, as long as you have given them 30 minutes, let them play out the 30 minutes. It's part of the improvement we've seen in the game. But I can't imagine a team losing to a golden goal. It's horrible. But thank God there's change now and things are getting better in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, penalty kick, Stephen, it's 12 feet away from the goal. I'm a former goalkeeper, right? So I
Wow.
love taking penalty kicks because there's no pressure on me. There's no pressure on me. It's all on the kicker. They're 12 feet away.
A
You've got
big
a
yes.
big goal here. You should put it in every time. Yes. But when that happens and that you have the five players arm in arm, and the other team they send a guy up, and Oh, the pressure there is immense. It's but you are right. There's a lot of
Yeah.
luck there, and we've seen some big penalty kick saves this World
Mm.
Cup already, right? We saw Courtois
Yes.
made one, right, against
Against
I forget who it was.
what was that? I think the Canadian.
Uh,
Yes,
that's
Alfonso
right,
Davies.
Belgium,
Yes.
Canada. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, by the way, the goalkeeping has been, my goalkeeper, of course, in City, the
Mm.
Brazilian Ederson. He is like an
Yes.
offensive
Yes. Yes.
keeper where he's very known to start the
Mm.
forwarding play. When I was coached, I was always told the goalkeeper had three responsibilities. Right, stop the
Mm.
ball from going in, control
Mm.
your defense, and start the offensive
Mm.
flow, and he does that perfectly. He gets the ball and he uses his feet
Yeah.
so well, and just the goalkeeping has just been
It's amazing,
wonderful.
and it's a surprise. Well, I don't want to say it's a surprise that Allison is starting ahead of him in Brazil.
Very
Yeah,
big surprise.
well, it's down to the coach. The coach decides who fits the system. You will be surprised in another coach system, he would rather prefer Edison to Allison. But it doesn't change that Allison is a wonderful goalkeeper too. His feet
Oh
is
yes,
awesome too. Let's not
yes.
forget that he has created a lot of assists in the Premier League. He has about 2 assists already, if I'm not mistaken. The Premier League straight a long kick to Salah, and Mo Salah scores. He's a very brilliant goalkeeper. And the thing is that they have the both keepers are similar. Their situation, Harrison and Ederson, is like the situation in Germany where they have Manuel Neuer and Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. It's just similar. Both are wonderful goalkeepers, top level goalkeepers. It's difficult to choose one, but most people, I think, would prefer the older one. I think because in the case of Manuel Neuer, of course, he still plays in the top level, but the coach prefers him somehow, probably because he has more experience than McAndre Testengen. But
Mm.
in the case of Allison too, I think Allison, because of his holder, maybe that's the reason why the coach prefers Allison to Ederson. But you cannot start two goalkeepers. You have to just choose one. His choice might not be our choice, and at the end of the day, our choice might not be his. So that's the game of football, the ability to choose, and that's what they are there for, the coaches, to make decisions like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, the management, you have your website is excellent. You have Pep Guardiola, and you compare some managers together. You have great. I love your insight on that. What is your passion? Did you play football as a youth? Where
Okay,
did it begin?
yes, I did, but unprofessionally, just around my neighbors, my brothers. We just used to play kick football. I've always loved football since I was 4 or 5 years old, and it's part of the game. And it's not just me; it's crazy here in Africa. Football is a religion. Let me put it that way. It's a
Yes.
religion here. People follow it religiously. So
Hmm.
it's beyond it's beyond the game. It's let me just say it's a way of life here. So I've always developed that
Wow.
passion right from my childhood, and funny enough, I used to do a 9 to 5, really. But one day I said to myself, I need to take another step. I need to do something that I really love. I didn't really like my job. I was just working. Because I just needed to feed my family. But it got to a point I wanted to go for my heart. I wanted to go for my passion, and football was the only thing I loved. I cannot play football professionally. I needed to take another step. So I thought educating people on publishing content of what I love was the best way. So gradually I started, and I think 2 years ago, and then on and on and on. That's how the story started, and it's been very, very, very lovely. Because to be honest, now I found what I really love. It's interesting. So it's not a pain in the board to create content, because it's something I would do for free. You understand? So it's just part of my life. So although I never played professionally, but right inside me, I have great passion for the game. So it makes the work easier and better.
Yeah, and I could tell. I could tell by the way you write your blogs, your essays. I can also tell in your podcast when you're there with your
Wow,
co-hosts and you're giving
fantastic.
updates to Ronaldo and the World Cup. Your Facebook page is delightful too. You have a beautiful family, and I really enjoy following you. Stephen, I years ago I got heavy. I started a business. I gained a lot of weight, and then the doctor said to me, if you don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate
Wow.
college, school, because gain way too much weight. So from that point on, I lost about 130 pounds over a year. So people always ask me, how did you lose all the weight? And I always say, just discipline. I just got focused and disciplined. There's no magic. There's
Hmm.
no secret. If you want to do something, I use discipline and got there and got to my ideal weight. I wonder, does discipline play a role in your life at all, Stephen?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I'll give you some instances. So, like I said, I used to do a 9 to 5. So when I was doing the 9 to 5, it was never really interesting to me, to be honest. I was just doing it. Mm. But I needed to follow my heart. But I can't just wake up a day and then quit my job and then start a new life. No, it doesn't work that way. I needed to follow a course of discipline. Do you understand? Because I knew that I had responsibilities. And then, so I set a plan for myself. Like in the next 3 6 months, I need to start something, and then um, I just need to follow it up. So I set a plan for myself and then I worked thoroughly towards that plan. And over time, coincidentally, COVID came and then it coincided with the time I had wanted to leave. And then everything turned out to be the right direction, and then I quit. Now, the point is, even when I started, I needed to follow a clear cut goal because I read a lot, I studied a lot, and I noticed that one mistake people make was when that consistency level drops in publishing, it affects your business. So I didn't want to go down that path. So I set a clear-cut goal for myself about what target I need to achieve in a week, in a month, in a day with my team. So that's what I do. So I had a team I worked with, and then we had a clear target for the week, which we were doing back to back,
Hmm.
back to back, and then that's how it evolved over time. So to be very honest with you, there is no successful team or no successful business that doesn't have a clear-cut discipline. It's they
Hmm.
go hand in hand. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on that. And I think even in football, I mean, I think we see a level of discipline in fitness, in managerial style, in just the way the teams execute the different styles. We have the kind of the Italian
Hmm.
kind of older way where it's a
Yeah.
lot of defense and they're just playing for the counter attack, and the slow build, the passing
Hmm.
to death of the Spanish. I mean, we have such different styles, and I think discipline just plays such a
Yes,
role
if you,
there
if
as
you look
well.
at football, there's a pattern that you must follow if you want to play the game. You know, you cannot just go and kick a player because you want to take the ball off him. You can't do that. There are rules to the game. You must follow
Mm,
the discipline. And if you want to be a professional footballer, there are things that you must do. If you want to graduate from the academy, there are things you must do. You can't just slouch and just leave play football anyhow, and then the coach picks you up from the academy team to the senior team. It doesn't work that way. So you have to follow. So it's just how it is. Discipline is very key to any aspect of life. So if you really want to achieve anything, either in football or any other sphere of life, discipline is key. But first, you need to set a clear-cut goal for yourself. What do you want to achieve? Set that. It will be easier for you to follow it up. But when there is no clear-cut goal or set rules, it's easier because the people that are in the power of football, they've already set those rules, and then it's easier for
mm.
people to follow. The manager in the football team has set those rules, so people just come if you abide by the system, and then it works for you. But in a situation where you set the rule, Now, that becomes a problem for some people because they've not set those clear cut goals for themselves. So what are they working towards? Nothing. They just do eat and miss, and then it's not really good. But when you have a clear cut goal, it's easier for you to match up and follow it up.
Hmm. Well said. Well said. Stephen Oyelabi, what motivates you?
What motivates me in what aspect of life?
You choose.
Okay, well, what motivates me in my business? It's pure passion, really. Never money.
Hmm.
Money is the last. Money is part of life, but no, never. Money is never the first. Pure passion for the game. It drives me a lot because even times when the business is not going well, man, I love what I do. I just keep doing it. I just keep doing it. I pay my people. I pay my staff. I just keep doing it. I would never think I'm paying them for something that's not productive at the moment. I do still pay them. Do you understand? But even when it's productive, it's just like a bonus. Oh, fine and good. Purely the passion. That what motivates me. It's my business.
Uh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how do you measure success?
Well, personally, I think I measure success in how much impact you're making in people's life, how much knowledge you're dishing out. If people can get
Mm,
value from you, that's success. A lot of times, success is being matched with money. Well, that's not the way I think. That's not the way I think. If you can drop, because life is unfair. There's so many people out there that put in a lot of effort, that put their head out into their business and they churn out good value. But the thing is, for some reasons, they're just not getting out the chunk of the money like others would, and somebody will come out and say he's more successful than B because he has more money in the same business. That's not how it works for me. It depends on the value. And
mm,
unfortunately, let me put it that way, sometimes value does not directly equate to how much money you have, really. Most of the biggest businessmen are smart, but not the whole time intelligent people. And then some things worked in their favor, and then
mm.
they are rich and famous. It happens. So what's my own yardstick for success is the amount of value you create, and sometimes too the amount of value you create actually is tied to how much you make eventually. But sometimes it's not like that. So I prefer to attach my success to value rather than money.
Very well said. Very well said. Stephen Oyelabi, what an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. I really enjoyed your time. I hope one day that I get to visit Lagos and maybe we can
Yeah,
kick the
yeah, yeah,
ball
yeah.
around
I
and have
love
a cup of
that.
coffee and watch
Yeah,
Manchester
I
City.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Uh, so how can we get in touch with you? You've got the great website
Yes.
SooFootball,
SOO. Yes.
SooFootball. Excellent site.
So football.
Great essays. I wanted to take your quiz. I guess you had a quiz last year, but you took it down. You had a football
Yeah, it's
quiz,
still there. Oh, that's a
but it's
mistake.
not
That's a
available.
mistake. That's a mistake.
Yeah, I wasn't able to take it. But you've got your great opinions on managers and diet. What great footballers should eat. It's just a really great site. I love your insight. You've got that, and there's a link there to go to your podcast, So Football, as
Yeah,
well.
so people can always check So Football for educative and insightful football content, and they can also check the So Football show. So it's actually the podcast and a product of the So Football. So you can always reach me on stephenoyilabi@gmail.com. stephenoyilabi@gmail.com if there are any business proposal or stuff related to football that you want to share. I'm just right here for everyone.
Very good, Stephen. Thank you so much for your time.
I
You be
really do
well.
appreciate the time. Thank you, Joey. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.